planet Varela was unlike anything Captain Elias Ward had ever seen. Towering crystal spires shimmered in the sunlight, and rivers of glowing liquid ran between cities carved into cliffs. The air was thick but breathable for humans, tinged with a sweet scent that reminded him of flowers on Earth. Elias, an explorer and diplomat from Earth, had traveled across stars to reach this distant world. His mission was simple: establish peaceful relations with the Virilan people. Yet he had a strange feeling that today would not go as planned. The royal palace of Varela was magnificent. Its walls gleamed with colors that shifted as the light moved. Aliens of every shape and size moved gracefully through the grand halls, their skin reflecting soft, bioluminescent patterns. At the center of the palace, a crowd had gathered for a formal reception. King Valerian and Queen Mirilla, the rulers of Varela, stood proudly as their daughter, Princess Scilara, greeted the dignitaries. Sciara's appearance was mesmerizing. Her silver-blue skin sparkled in the light and her eyes glowed like twin moons. Her presence commanded respect but also kindness. Elias had been introduced to the royal family moments earlier. He had bowed politely and offered the customary gift of Earth artifacts, small devices designed to record and display history. The princess smiled at him, her eyes curious but gentle. For a moment, Elias felt a strange connection, as if he had known her in some past life. But before he could ponder this feeling, the palace erupted into chaos. A sudden shriek echoed through the hall. Princess Scilara staggered and fell to her knees. Her hand went to her chest as if she could hold her life together with strength alone. The crowd gasped and several Virelan guards rushed to her side. "Medic, quickly!" someone shouted. Aliens with glowing staves of light surrounded the princess, attempting to heal her with their advanced medical techniques. Yet their faces turned pale. Elias pushed forward instinctively, ignoring the protests of the guards. "What is happening?" he demanded, kneeling beside her. "She has been poisoned," one of the medics replied in a voice trembling with fear. "No known medicine can save her." Elias felt his heart tighten. He had faced danger in space before, but this was different. He did not know the princess well, yet seeing her life hanging by a thread filled him with a strange determination. He looked into her glowing eyes. They were wide with panic and pain, and in that instant he made a choice. He reached out, placing his hand gently over hers. A warmth spread through his fingers, unlike anything he had felt before. A soft glow began to form around their hands. The crowd froze, staring in disbelief. The medics stepped back, whispering urgently among themselves. "Impossible," one muttered. Slowly, Princess Sciara's breathing steadied. Her eyes blinked more steadily, and the faint color returned to her cheeks. The glow around Elias and her hand faded, leaving the princess alive and trembling. The silence in the hall was deafening. King Valerian's face was a mixture of awe and disbelief. Queen Mirilla clutched her daughter to her chest, tears forming in her eyes. "How?" the king whispered. I don't know," Elias admitted honestly. He had never done anything like this before. Humans were capable of many things, but healing a poisoned alien princess had never been among them. Yet somehow instinct, courage, and perhaps something deeper had allowed him to save her. The medics cautiously examined the princess again. Their expressions shifted from fear to astonishment. "She is stable," one announced. "She should recover fully, though we do not understand how this happened." Scilara, still weak, looked up at Elias with a faint smile. "You saved me," she whispered. Her voice was soft but carried a note of wonder. Elias nodded, feeling a mix of relief and curiosity. "I didn't mean to. I just acted." The royal family's advisors and council members began to murmur. Some looked frightened, others intrigued. A human had performed a miracle, something beyond the understanding of Virilan science. They questioned whether he was a friend or a potential threat. Still, the king placed a hand on Elias's shoulder. "You have our gratitude," he said solemnly. "Stay with us. We must understand what you are and how this happened." Elias bowed, aware that the palace and the world of Varela had changed in an instant. He had traveled across the galaxy seeking diplomacy and understanding, but he had not expected to become a living legend on his very first day. Princess Scilara, now resting with her mother's support, watched him with quiet curiosity. She did not yet understand why a human had this power, but she felt instinctively that he would play a larger role in her life than anyone could foresee. Outside, the sun reflected off the palace spires, creating a dazzling display of light. Inside, in the heart of the royal hall, Humans and aliens shared a silent acknowledgement. Something extraordinary had just happened. And for the first time, Elias realized that humans, despite being young in galactic history, had a place in the hearts and lives of other worlds. The palace of Virella was quieter now, though the tension lingered in every corner. Princess Scilara rested in her chamber, supported by soft cushions that glowed faintly with calming light. Her breathing was steady and her pale skin had returned to a healthy silver blue, yet the memory of her collapse still weighed heavily on everyone present. Outside her chamber, advisors whispered nervously, casting occasional glances at Captain Elias Ward. He had been invited to stay in the palace as an honored guest, but the council's skepticism was clear. A human had performed a miracle, and no one knew how or why. Elias moved carefully through the corridors, taking in the palace's beauty. He admired the delicate murals which told stories of Virella's history, battles, triumphs, and moments of peace. Yet even as he marveled, he sensed the eyes of many watching him, measuring, judging, and questioning. He had faced danger and suspicion on Earth before, but never in such an alien, silent way. Some council members believed he might be hiding technology, or worse, an unknown power that could threaten the kingdom. King Valerian summoned him to a private audience. The human entered the royal study, a room filled with soft light and the quiet hum of alien energy. The king, tall and imposing with deep luminescent eyes, regarded him carefully. "Captain Ward," the king began, his voice calm but firm, "you have done what none of our healers could. You touched my daughter and she lives, yet your actions are unsettling. How can we trust what we do not understand?" Elias bowed. "Your Majesty, I am not a healer. I did not mean to do anything special. I only acted because she was in danger." The king studied him for a long moment. "Intentions alone do not explain miracles. We must know whether this power can be controlled, or whether it is dangerous." Before Elias could respond, Scilara herself entered. She leaned on her mother's support but walked with dignity. Her eyes, still bright from the strange healing, were fixed on the human. "You saved my life," she said softly, her voice carrying no accusation, only curiosity. "I do not know why or how, but I feel connected to you in a way I cannot explain." Elias felt a strange warmth at her words. I only did what felt right," he admitted. "I don't fully understand what happened either." The queen placed a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. "This connection, it may be unusual, but it is not necessarily a threat. Still, caution is necessary. The council will want answers." Outside, the council members whispered in anxious tones. Rumors spread quickly across the palace. Some suggested that humans carried ancient powers hidden in their DNA, relics from a forgotten past. Others feared Elias might be a spy sent to weaken the Virellan monarchy. Still, no one could deny what they had witnessed. Princess Scilara had been revived when all hope seemed lost. The medics and scientists, driven by curiosity and the need for knowledge, asked Elias to participate in a series of tests. He agreed, not fully understanding what they sought but eager to prove he meant no harm. The instruments were strange, glowing with energy that scanned his body without touch. He felt nothing unusual within himself. No hidden weapon, no secret device, only his own human presence. Yet the scientists were fascinated. "There is an unusual energy pattern in his hands," one whispered. "It does not match any Virellan signature." Scilara observed silently, her eyes thoughtful. "Perhaps humans have a gift we do not yet see," she said. Her words carried hope, and for a moment the tension in the room eased. That evening, Elias was invited to dine with the royal family. The palace feast was unlike anything he had experienced. Tables floated in midair and the food glimmered softly, shifting colors with flavor. Despite the strange surroundings, Elias focused on Scilara. She seemed calmer now, her curiosity outweighing fear. They spoke of Arth, of stars, and of human courage. "You have traveled so far," she said, "yet your courage is what saved me. It is not the power, but the choice to act that matters." Elias smiled. "Sometimes that is all we can do. Act when we must, even if we do not fully understand the consequences." The king watched the conversation carefully. He was still cautious, but could not deny the bond forming between his daughter and this human. For the first time, he considered that perhaps humans were not just survivors of a young planet. Perhaps they carried qualities that could change the balance of the galaxy. As night fell over the palace, The halls grew quiet. Elias walked along the terrace, gazing at Virella's twin moons reflecting in the rivers below. He wondered about the poison, about the power that had allowed him to heal, and about the future he might face here. He did not yet know that danger still lingered in the shadows, nor that some among the council viewed him as a threat to their own ambitions. But for now, he had saved a life, and in doing so, he had begun a story that would unite two worlds. And somewhere deep inside, he felt the stirring of a connection that was greater than curiosity, greater than duty, a bond between human and princess, between two different worlds, that could change the course of history. The palace slept under the twin moons, but in its heart, a human and an alien princess shared a quiet understanding. The miracle had happened, but it was only the beginning. The days after the miraculous healing of Princess Saylara were filled with curiosity and quiet tension. The palace halls, once calm after the crisis, now buzzed with whispers. Advisors, medics, and council members debated endlessly. Some praised Captain Elias Ward, calling him a hero. Others cast cautious glances, questioning the trustworthiness of a human who had defied Virellan science. Elias himself tried to remain calm, but he sensed unease growing in the royal court. Something was not right. Saylara, now fully recovered, insisted on speaking with Elias in private. They walked together through the palace gardens, which glowed softly with bioluminescent plants. The air smelled sweet, and alien birds with glassy feathers sang melodies he could barely understand. Yet beneath the beauty, Sayalara's expression was serious. "I need to tell you something," she said quietly. "My collapse. It was no accident. I believe someone wanted to kill me." Elias stopped walking. "Someone in the palace?" he asked, his mind racing. Saylara nodded. "A rival house. One of the noble families. They want to take control of the throne. My father does not know, or he would act. I have seen signs. Secret meetings, messages sent in code, strange visitors. The poison was just the first step." Elias felt a chill. He had faced enemies before, but this threat was personal and close. "We need proof," he said. "If someone is trying to harm you again, we must stop them before it is too late." Saylara agreed, but the task was not easy. The palace was massive, and the rival house had allies hidden among trusted staff. The human and the princess began discreetly gathering information. They watched conversations, examined coded messages, and observed suspicious behavior. Slowly, patterns emerged. Certain nobles met in hidden chambers at night. Messages arrived in seemingly ordinary objects. Even some palace guards had been influenced by the rival house. Elias found himself amazed by the intelligence and subtlety of Virellan politics. Unlike the direct conflicts he had known on Earth, these battles were fought with secrecy, strategy, and manipulation. Yet he was determined. He could not allow danger to reach Saylara again. Late one evening, they discovered the source of the poison. A small vial, hidden in a delivery crate meant for the princess's personal quarters, contained a substance that the Virellan medics had never seen before. It was designed to remain dormant, only activating in cycles to slowly weaken her body. The realization sent a shiver down Elias's spine. Whoever had done this was cunning and patient. "We are running out of time," Elias said. "If the next cycle starts, she could die before the palace even knows what is happening." Saylara clenched her hands, determination shining in her eyes. "Then we must act quickly. But we cannot alert the palace. The rival house will know, and they may strike immediately." Together, they devised a careful plan. Elias would remain close to Saylara, ready to act if the poison began again, while she continued to gather intelligence. They would expose the rival house, but only when they had undeniable proof. Even as they worked in secrecy, the palace began to feel the tension. Council members whispered about Elias, suspecting he might have his own motives. Some feared his miracle could be a form of influence, a way to manipulate the royal family. Elias ignored the whispers, focusing instead on the task at hand. Days passed, and the threat of the poison loomed over Saylara. Elias stayed by her side, studying her health, ready to act the moment danger appeared. The bond between them grew stronger. Saylara began to trust him completely, relying not only on his courage but also on his insight into human instinct. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the palace, a shadow moved near the royal quarters. Elias noticed it immediately. A figure in the darkness, moving with careful precision, carried another vial. He reacted instantly, moving to intercept. The shadow froze for a moment, then vanished into the gardens, dropping the vial. Elias picked it up and analyzed it. It was identical to the poison that had almost killed Scialara. "This is serious," he muttered, handing the vial to the medics for study. "They are planning another attack very soon." Scialara's eyes widened. "Then we must prepare. This time we will be ready." Elias nodded. "We will stop them before they can harm you again." "I promise." As they worked together, the human and the princess became more than allies. They were a team, united by courage, trust, and a shared determination to protect life. The palace remained unaware of the danger lurking within its walls. But Elias and Scialara knew that the next move could decide the fate of the Virellan throne, and perhaps reveal the true extent of humanity's remarkable abilities. The palace slept under the glow of the twin moons. But for Elias and Scialara, rest was impossible. Danger had returned, and only courage, careful planning, and the mysterious bond between human and princess could ensure survival. The palace of Virella was tense, though outwardly calm. Princess Scialara had returned to her chambers after another long day of careful investigation with Elias. They had gathered proof of the rival house's treachery, secret messages, hidden poisons, and suspicious alliances within the palace, yet the danger was far from over. That night, as the twin moons rose high in the sky, the poison's second cycle began to take effect. Scialara gasped, clutching her chest as a sudden weakness washed over her. Her skin paled once more, and the familiar glow in her eyes dimmed. Elias, who had been keeping watch nearby, rushed to her side. He knew that this time hesitation could be fatal. "Stay with me," he urged, his voice steady despite the fear gripping him. "I will not let anything happen to you." The medics arrived immediately, but even their advanced techniques could not stop the poison. Panic rippled through the chamber and whispers of dread filled the halls. Elias felt a strange warmth rise in his hands, the same warmth that had saved her before. He realized instinctively what he must do. Placing his hands gently on Scialara's, he focused. He did not know if this would work, but he refused to let fear control him. Around their hands, a soft glow began to form, brighter and warmer than before. The medics stepped back, awe and fear evident on their faces. The glow spread across Scialara's body, moving slowly but steadily. Her breathing evened, her skin regained color, and her eyes brightened with life. The palace chamber seemed to hold its breath. Elias concentrated harder, sensing a connection between himself and the princess. This was no longer just instinct. It was understanding, a bridge between human and alien energy. Finally, Scialara's body strengthened, her posture straightening as the glow faded. She looked at Elias with wide eyes, fully healed. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then the king and queen entered. They had been summoned by the medics and advisors, fearing the worst. King Valerian's jaw dropped and Queen Marilla's eyes shimmered with tears. "By the stars," the king whispered. "You have done it again. She lives." Scialara smiled weakly, touching Elias's hand. "You saved me." "Again," she said, her voice filled with gratitude and wonder. The medics were astonished. "We do not understand how this is possible," one of them admitted. "Nothing we know could produce this result." Elias shook his head. "I do not fully understand it either. I only act when I have to. I cannot explain more than that." Their moment of relief was short-lived. A sudden noise echoed through the chamber, a shadow moving quickly across the hallway. Elias reacted instantly. Someone had slipped past the palace guards, intent on finishing what they had started. He grabbed a nearby staff, using it to block the intruder's path. The assassin, a skilled figure dressed in dark armor, lunged at the princess. Elias intercepted, using only his strength and quick thinking. The two clashed, moving with speed and precision. The assassin was strong, but Elias's determination to protect life gave him an edge. In a final move, he disarmed the intruder and held them at bay. Scialara watched, fear and awe mingling in her eyes. "You protected me," she whispered. Elias nodded. "I will not let anyone harm you again." The assassin was taken into custody and the palace security was reinforced. The rival house had underestimated the humans' courage and resolve. That night, as the palace settled into quiet once more, the royal family gathered to discuss the events. The king, still amazed, addressed Elias directly. "Captain Ward, you have not only saved my daughter twice, but you have also protected my family from a deadly threat. Your actions prove that humans are capable of extraordinary courage and compassion. You have earned the trust of my family and my kingdom. Scilara reached for Elias's hand, her grip gentle but firm. I do not know what this connection between us is, but I feel that it is important. You are no longer just a guest. You are a part of my life and perhaps of Virella's future. Elias felt a deep sense of humility. He had traveled across the stars seeking understanding and diplomacy, yet he had found himself in the middle of a miracle. And now he realized that humanity's place in the galaxy was more than survival. It was about courage, compassion, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. The palace slept under the soft glow of the twin moons. Inside, the bond between human and princess had grown stronger. Together, they had faced danger, uncovered treachery, and defied the limits of science. But more challenges awaited. Elias knew that their journey was far from over. Still, for the first time, he allowed himself a moment of quiet pride and hope. For in that quiet, shining moment, it was clear that humans, though young in galactic history, had the power to change the course of worlds. The palace of Virella was alive with celebration. The threat of the rival house had been neutralized, the assassins captured, and Princess Scilara fully recovered. The royal family moved with pride and relief, knowing their daughter was safe and the kingdom secure. Yet the events of recent days had changed more than just the palace. The presence of Captain Elias Ward, the human who had healed and protected the princess, had shifted the perception of humans forever. The morning sun reflected off the crystal spires, casting sparkling patterns across the palace halls. King Valerion had called a formal assembly to acknowledge the courage and actions of Elias. Nobles, advisors, medics, and council members gathered in the central hall, their faces a mixture of curiosity, respect, and lingering awe. Elias entered quietly, bowing to the royal family. Scilara stood at her father's side, her eyes bright with pride. She spoke first, her voice clear and strong. Captain Elias Ward, she began. You have not only saved my life twice, but have also shown what courage and compassion can achieve. You acted when others hesitated. You protected this kingdom when danger was near. For this I thank you. The king stepped forward, placing a hand on Elias's shoulder. You have demonstrated the true spirit of humanity, he said solemnly. Humans, though young in galactic history, have qualities that can change the course of worlds. Today we honor you as a friend of Virella and a protector of our people. Elias felt a mix of humility and pride. He had never expected to receive such recognition from an alien civilization, but he understood the weight of the moment. More than honor, it represented trust, the beginning of a new connection between Earth and Virella. The council members murmured among themselves, some still cautious, others openly approving. They had witnessed a human perform what even Virellan science could not explain. Yet they now realized that courage and action could carry a power greater than technology or tradition. After the formal assembly, Scilara invited Elias to walk with her in the palace gardens. The air was warm, filled with the fragrance of glowing flowers, and the gentle light of the twin moons lingered even in the day. You have changed everything, she said quietly. Not just for me, but for all of Virella. Your actions show that humans are more than survivors. They can be heroes, even across the stars. Elias smiled. I only did what I had to do. I did not think of heroism or fame. I only knew I could not stand by while you were in danger. Scilara nodded. That is what makes humans remarkable. It is not your strength, not your speed, but your willingness to act when others cannot. That is what saved me, and perhaps it will save others in the future. The bond between them was no longer just of gratitude. It was trust, respect, and the promise of future collaboration. Elias realized that his journey to Virella had changed more than his mission. It had connected two worlds in a way he could never have imagined. Days later, the king and queen formally invited Elias to become Earth's ambassador to Virella. He would stay in the palace as a diplomat and researcher, working alongside Virellan scientists to study the strange connection that had allowed him to heal the princess. The alliance was not just political, it was a promise of cooperation, knowledge, and shared courage. As Elias began his work, he saw the hope in the eyes of the people. They looked to the sky, imagining a future where humans and Virellan stood together, facing challenges as allies rather than strangers. The twin moons reflected in the rivers, and for the first time, Elias felt that Earth's place among the stars was secure, not because of power, but because of the qualities that made humans special. In the evenings, he often walked with Scylara, discussing science, strategy, and dreams of exploration. Together, they planned missions to help other worlds in need, using courage and ingenuity as their guide. The palace, once threatened by treachery, now stood as a beacon of hope, a symbol of what could be achieved when different worlds joined together. One quiet night, as the twin moons bathed the palace in silver light, Elias stood on the balcony gazing at the vast horizon. He thought of Earth, of the stars, and of the lives he had touched and been touched by. Humanity had arrived on Varela not just as visitors, but as allies and friends. Princess Scylara joined him silently, placing her hand on his shoulder. "The future is brighter because of you," she said softly. "We will face challenges, yes, but together we will succeed." Elias looked at the glowing horizon, feeling a deep sense of purpose. "And we will prove," he replied, "that humans, though young among the stars, can make a difference everywhere we go." The palace glimmered under the twin moons, a symbol of unity, courage, and hope. And in its heart, a human and an alien princess stood together, ready to face the future. Their story was a testament to bravery, compassion, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. The galaxy was wide, full of unknown worlds and untold dangers, but Elias knew one thing for certain. Wherever humans went, they carried the power to heal, protect, and inspire. Varela was just the beginning, and so the alliance of two worlds began, built not on fear or conquest, but on trust, courage, and the belief that even the smallest actions of one human could change the fate of many.